What's going on, y'all? Today I'm excited to bring you guys my final review or 100-mile review of the Nike Vomero Pluses. And spoiler alert, this is probably gonna be my shoe of the year. So as always, we are going to start off with the traction and the outsole performance of the shoe. So as you can see, the Nike Vomero Plus has that pretty traditional Nike waffle outsole pattern. Now, I do live in California and I haven't really been running too much in rainy conditions. It's been raining here and there recently, but I mostly ran in this outsole when it was pretty sunny on the roads. Now, when it did get wet, I still ran in these shoes and they felt pretty fine when it came to traction, but if you run in a lot of snow or heavy rains, storms, this is probably not going to be your best bet. That's just my hypothesis. But in dry weather conditions as well as a little bit wet conditions, this traction is, I would say, average, not the best, not the worst. There are definitely better options if you are running in harsher weather conditions. But overall, the traction was solid and pretty much good to go if you run in normal weather conditions. Now, speaking on outsole durability, which is one of the most important aspects of a 100-mile review, as a 200-pound, 6'1" runner, I would say I'm a little bit bigger than most runners, and I'm happy to report that the outsole is holding up phenomenally on the Vomero Plus. Even though this waffle outsole pattern kind of looks like the Pegasus line, kind of looks like a lot of other Nike shoes, I feel like this outsole rubber, even though it feels kind of soft to the touch and malleable, it's just really durable. And I would say that I still have a lot of life left, probably definitely above average compared to most shoes I get to 100 miles in. Typically for me as a 6'1", 200-pound runner, I would say most shoes last around 200 to 250 miles. That's when I start feeling aches and pains that I haven't really felt before in a shoe, or the cushion is flat out dead. But in my opinion, the Vomero Plus should last a little bit longer than that typical lifespan due to this really durable outsole. As you can still see a couple of nubs on the outsole, which is really, really rare for a lot of different running shoes that I run in. I'm really, really happy with the durability of the outsole on the Vomero Plus. So that's a definite above average for me when it comes to outsole durability. This video is brought to you by VKTRY Insoles. So as you all know, running shoes can get really, really expensive, especially when you're trying to build a solid rotation. Daily trainers, super trainers, non-plated super trainers, super shoes, it can all add up really fast, which is why I've been loving my VKTRY Insoles. They're actually made with real carbon fiber, full length, so you get that same springy feel that you would get in super trainers or plated super shoes. And the best part is VKTRY gives a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's essentially no risk for trying them out. Thank you again to VKTRY Insoles for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into the shoe review. Now, moving on to the main event of the shoe, which is why this shoe gets the Vomero name, it's why it gets the Plus name, and that is this beautiful cushion setup. Full length Nike Zoom X. I believe the Vomero 18 was a dual density setup, so you didn't get full length Zoom X, whereas in the Plus, you get 100% full Zoom X. I don't exactly know if it's like the same one that they use in the Vaporfly series as well as the Alphafly series, but in my opinion, this setup is damn near perfect. I would say above average stack height with 45 millimeters in the heel, dropping to 35 millimeters in the forefoot. This is considered a super trainer, non-plated super trainer, and this setup is just amazing. The only cons, I'm gonna talk about the cons because I feel like there's too many pros and there's so few cons, but the cons of this setup is definitely stability, even though it does have a decently wide base. If you are a newer runner or you are a runner that typically wears stability running shoes, this setup is probably not going to be for you due to that really high stack height, and the Zoom X is a little bit more on the bouncy / soft side in my opinion. It does firm up when you start to run a little bit faster, but for the most part, I would say it's a little bit too unstable for me to recommend my overpronators or heavy supinators. So if you are a stability shoe runner, then this setup is probably not for you. The second con of this shoe is not even really a con when it comes to the midsole. I would say that once you get used to running in this setup, it kind of ruins a lot of shoes for you, because I switched from this shoe to, let's say, a Brooks Go 17, more of a traditional daily trainer, low to the ground running shoe, and that shoe just makes running feel way harder than running in this shoe. So the con of this midsole is that I think running is going to feel a little bit too easy. So when you switch back to your regular daily trainers that are going to train probably more of your muscles, it's going to train your endurance a little bit more. This shoe is going to make those shoes feel not as good, and definitely you're gonna have to work harder in those shoes. So those are the cons of this setup. Let's move on to the pros. Like I said, there's just too many pros for me to name. If I miss anything, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But the pros is that this shoe is extremely comfortable. I think for slow paces, for fast paces, medium paces, this shoe can literally do it all. I would say that the shoe is definitely kind of more on the responsive / soft side, like I said earlier. And depending on how fast you're running, the shoe kind of adapts to it. I would say when you're running faster, you're putting more energy into the shoe, you're gonna get more energy back, and it's gonna stiffen up and make the cushion a little bit more responsive, which is really nice for those long, faster runs. Whereas when you are running slow, this shoe is gonna have plenty of cushion. The cushion is going to compress a little bit more. It's gonna feel a little bit softer on your joints. It's a really easy shoe to throw on when you're either aching really bad or your body doesn't feel that great to run. This shoe makes it super, super easy to get out the door and just have fun on your run and just make your running a little bit easier. Isn't that what we all want? So again, the cons are maybe the stability, and two is maybe you won't really want to wear your other running shoes anymore, because this shoe just makes running feel really easy. And last but not least, we are going to talk about the upper and the fit of the Vomero Plus. This upper, I feel like, is very solid. It's nothing revolutionary, nothing groundbreaking. Again, I'm going to start with the cons because I feel like there's a lot of pros on the upper. But the cons of this upper, if I were to nitpick, I know that the Vomeros are meant to be the chunkier shoe in the Nike running lineup, but I do feel like the heel collar as well as the tongue are a little bit thick for my liking. Once you kind of get the shoe on, you tie your shoes and you start running, you don't really notice this stuff too much. But when I'm thinking about the weight of the shoe, I think that they can reduce the padding just a little bit on the tongue, just so it feels a little bit more sleek, as well as the cushion on the heel collar. I think we can get rid of a little bit if I'm really complaining, but those are my only cons in the shoe when it comes to the upper. I feel like the upper, for it being such a chunky shoe, actually feels really lightweight, and the materials feel pretty nice and thin. It's a little bit more synthetic-y than, I would say, a traditional mesh, and it's not the thinnest mesh. Like when I do the light test, there's not a whole lot of light peeking through, but the ventilation seems to be okay, or it hasn't been a con for me. And overall, I feel like the fit and the lockdown, the support was very, very good on the Vomeros. As you can see, I actually took my runner's loop out, and it's been doing really, really well. You can also do the heel lock if you want even better heel lockdown. And when it comes to sizing, I almost forgot to mention the sizing. I have a wider than average foot at a size 12. I got my true size, and these fit phenomenally. They don't give you that race-like fit that some of the other super trainers or more of the race-like shoes give you, where it's like a little bit tight in the forefoot, but you get a more relaxed, kind of more daily trainer feel in the upper fit, which I personally really like, especially when I'm doing long runs. And when I just want to do easy runs, I don't always want my foot to be kind of hugged to the max. So I think that you get a little bit of room in the forefoot, which is really, really nice, but still go true to size in my opinion, even if you have a wider foot like myself. The midfoot and the heel lockdown were really good. If you want really good heel lockdown, you can do the runner's loop. If you want decent heel lockdown, that's going to kind of do the job. You can just leave the laces as is. But overall, the upper and the fit were slightly above average in my opinion. When I first got the shoe, when I first saw the shoe online, as well as when I got it in person, I was actually expecting this shoe to feel a lot heavier due to maybe a heavier looking upper, but I was pleasantly surprised that the heaviest part of the shoe is definitely that midsole. It still is a weighty shoe, but in my opinion, like, I think the cushion kind of more than makes up for it, as well as the lightweight upper and the durability. So when you're running long runs, I personally didn't really feel the weight as being any problems, as well as when I started to pick up the pace. I mean, unless you're doing an all-out mile or an all-out 5K, I think that you can definitely run fast in this shoe and you're not going to have any problems, especially for it having such a high stack. You're going to really love that impact protection when you're running really fast, or at least from a heavier runner's opinion. And that's going to wrap up my 100 mile mile review of the Nike Vomero Plus. So priced at $180, yes, that is pretty steep for a non-plated super trainer. But I mean, then again, if you look at the running shoe market, that's a pretty decent price slash like that's very normal, which is unfortunate to say. But I would heavily, heavily recommend this shoe. Not even on some, like I'm not paid by Nike. I have no like affiliations with any brand, any running shoe brand at least. I think that this shoe is one of the best shoes that I've actually ever worn for running. Now, do with that what you will. Everyone has different preferences, everyone has different size feet. But if you are just looking for a super trainer that's non-plated, has really good cushion, is versatile, can kind of do everything, and maybe you want to do like your race day for your half marathon, 10K, or marathon in one shoe, I think that this is the shoe to get. I think that this shoe is 100% worth the money, especially once this shoe goes on sale. If it goes below 150 to 140, I might have to pick up a second pair because I love running in the shoe so much. I think it's gotten to the point where I can't get my foot out of the shoe, and I kind of have to force myself to wear a little bit lower stack stuff just so that I can train my muscles a little bit more, make sure that running still feels a little bit harder and I get that grit, because this shoe just feels like the miles are flying by. My body feels really, really good in this shoe, so can't recommend the shoe enough, and especially the durability. I'm very impressed. I have a lot of shoes, a lot of running shoes, and at 50 miles, some of them look worse on the outsole than this Vomero Plus does with 100 miles. So keep that in mind. So overall, the Vomero Plus is a 100% yes recommend. In my opinion, I think it's going to be my shoe of the year. We're getting closer to December and the end of the year, which I think there's a couple bangers that still have to release. It's been a little bit slow in the running shoe release world, but I think that the Asics Nova Blast 6 as well as maybe the Asics Glide Ride Max. I think I'm saying that name right. I think the second iteration is coming out. I'm probably going to review those, but in my opinion, this is probably going to be my shoe of the year. If not, number 2 or number 3 out of the top 5. So that's going to pretty much wrap up my 100-mile review on the Nike Vomero Plus. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys so much for watching the videos. Really appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have a pair or if you're considering a pair, your experiences, any questions that I may have missed, and I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the On Cloud Surfer Max review that's coming up soon. I still have to put a little bit more miles in those shoes. If I can get my foot out of these and into those, that would be fantastic. And I will catch you guys in the next video.